Sorry, we got a couple extra things going on here today, so.
All right, we're going to call to order the meeting on 11 October 2023 at 5:02 p.m. Commissioner reports. Justin, Brenda, do you guys have anything you want to do for commissioner reports tonight?
Nothing new for me.
No.
Bill? No. I don't have anything for commissioner reports either. We'll move on to staff reports.
I'll just report that we had a great open house last week on October 4th for the comprehensive plan, 10th Avenue, 6th Avenue, Craig Road and US2 projects. So we had done citywide postcard for attendance. We had done paid advertisement through Facebook. We had put out a newsletter with articles on each of those through the city's news article links that goes out to about 4,000 people that we have email addresses for that are residents and business owners and interested parties in the area, as well as providing information through traditional media outlets about the event. Really, I think a great turnout, very informative, great visuals of each of the projects, as well as an overview of the comprehensive plan. Great questions from the community. A lot of them were focused particularly around water and housing. So we're able to address those questions. People were able to get physical copies of the comp plan, look at the project site, as well as get more hands-on information about the projects on 610 Craig Road and US2. So just great turnout. And that's what I wanted to report for today.
How did it compare to the last time you guys did one?
It was a really different setting. This one was an open house with a designated presentation to it, whereas the one from 2020 was more of a walkthrough, so people could just walk through on their way to events. I would say very similar in that there was an opportunity to leave like sticky notes and on posters and things like that, comments. This time I would say that we didn't have as many like parents involved as we did in 2020. And I think that might be from selecting the time because we started at 5 o'clock.
Yes.
And I think a lot of the parents are coming to after school programs closer to the end of the school day.
Gotcha. That's still good to see that you had engagement. It came out. Anybody have any questions? Exactly.
I actually don't have anything. Heather kind of covered it there. Sorry, I'm trying to fix this link real quick so we have that available.
Well, we did have the ribbon cutting yesterday as well.
That's right. Yes.
For the new facility which is over at the north side of Garfield, on the east side of Garfield, north of US2. So I think it's 1104 North Garfield building, just recently acquired with the help of the bond measure from the community, as well as appropriation from the state for purchase of the building. It'd be a combined facility, so it'd be fire, police, administration, courts. We'll be moving in there. As a matter of fact, we are technically moving right now into the building. So all of the offices will start being open over there on Monday.
You're only going to fit all of that in there? That building didn't look that big when they did the.
It's almost 35,000 square feet.
Oh, wow. Okay. I went there when they did the symphony sale. It just didn't seem that big to have all those different things in it. That's pretty cool.
Well, the open house, I think, was well attended, but they actually had several fire trucks, like 3 fire trucks, a police car. Like, yeah, it'll fit.
Nice.
There's quite a bit of room over there. So that was the only other thing to add is moving of the offices and eventually the consolidation at a civic complex.
Nice. That's going to be really good for the city once they do that. It'll be nice to have that fire right there by the county's fire department too. Is Zach, you going to add anything, or you said you were good for the night?
Yeah, sorry. I'm just trying to fix this link to make sure that people are coming on our website will be able to access the meeting. And it's still giving me an invalid meeting ID, which is really, really weird because I just put a new one in there. I'll put a new story up. It's fine. Other than that, current planning, we are obviously working on a bunch of different projects. We're working on a short plat right now to finish that up. So with an additional 8 single-family lots. We're obviously working on Sunrise at Hunter's Crossing, which we'll be talking about momentarily. We're working through the Hafer Business Park, which was a binding site plan with some additional commercial and industrial development down on Hayford and 21st Avenue. Yeah, I mean, we're staying busy, but Heather got the big stuff and the fun stuff out of the way. So
Nice.
yeah,
Nice.
but that's all I got.
Great. Let's move on to our roll call. Commissioner Ponce,
Present.
Commissioner Davis,
Present.
Commissioner Campbell,
Present.
Commissioner Collins, present. Commissioner Davis is absent at this time.
Commissioner Davis is here.
Oh, sorry,
Nope.
sorry. Drawing a blank on Andre's last name right now.
Dove. Commissioner Dove.
Commissioner Dove is absent at this time, so we'll make a note for that.
Yeah, I'm wondering, just as a side note, he wasn't here last meeting, so he may not know that we're starting early today. It was in the email, but,
Gotcha.
and Commissioner Mitchell contacted to let us know he was unavailable.
Okay, yeah, Commissioner Mitchell has an excused absence for the night. Can we pull up our agenda for tonight? We're looking at it, gosh, all over the place. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda for tonight?
I move we approve the agenda as published.
Brenda, Justin, when you can second that?
I second that.
All those in favor? Aye. Guys have it. And then can we pull up our meeting minutes from last week's back? I don't.
Yep, these are them right there.
Okay. Can I get somebody to make a motion on our meeting minutes from last week, last month?
I move that the minutes from last month's meeting as published or as displayed should be approved.
Justin, Brenda,
I second that.
all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. All right, let's move on to our public comment. We don't have any public comment for tonight.
There is somebody from the public here.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, let me go down here. So Cassie's was Jerry Storehog is with Storehog Engineering, who's representing the Sunrise, excuse me, Hunter's Crossing. But Cassie Willis. If you have any comments, Cassie, please feel free to unmute yourself. Give her about 10 seconds or so.
And then this person that came in, are they?
Eric is also with the ownership group at Sunrise.
Gotcha. All right, well, if there's no public comment, we're going to move on to our presentation, which we don't have tonight, so we'll move on to our public hearing for our Sunrise at Hunter's Crossing preliminary plat. So let staff take over.
Get a new share. Sorry, we got a lot of moving parts tonight. Okay. So I'll give staff presentation. There are some slides that the applicant has brought. We'll go to those after the presentation. Our computer is being very moody tonight. Okay,
Because you have the Zoom link wrong.
it's not wrong. That's what makes it hard. If it was wrong, it'd be easy to fix. All right, I apologize. So we are reviewing the Sunrise and Hunter's Crossing preliminary plat, which is file number LUA 2023-0014. I'm clicking the wrong button. Sorry, I gotta minimize this. There we go. So this is a 64 lot, single family subdivision. Storehog Engineering is representing the owner, which is Airway Heights LLC. This involves 3 separate parcels, which the numbers are there. It's located in Northwest Airway Heights in 2 sections. So this first section here is just south of First Avenue off Craig Road. And this, the phase 3, the second section is up here off Vinnie Street, and they're gonna be Sprague eventually. There is split zoning Most of it is R1 single family. There's a little bit of R2 duplex, and the comp plan designation is medium density residential. That's a little more detailed look at the lower section of the plat, which is off again Craig Road, just south of First Avenue. And that's a more detailed section of the northern portion of the plat, which is just north of Highland Village up there. The procedural requirements for this plat included an initial letter of complete application that was provided on April 17th of 2023. I noticed the development application SEPA went out on May 1st. We issued a determination of non-significance on June 5th. The notice of that determination and an initial public hearing notice went out on June 5th as well. The Planning Commission was briefed back in June on the 14th. An additional notice of public hearing was provided for tonight's hearing on September 26th. Tonight is the public hearing with the Planning Commission. Following the Planning Commission, if the commission recommends the plat to the City Council, we will have a study session first, and then a legislative and public hearing for final approval for the plat with the City Council. There were a few items we wanted to specifically go over with this application. The first one was there was a roadway deviation request. The Public Works standards require a 40-foot curb to curb right of way. The applicant was requesting a reduction to 30 feet. Public Works deviation requests, they're an administrative function. We handle those internally. Our Public Works director and city engineer reviewed and provided an approval with conditions. Those conditions are included within the staff report and also within the recommended conditions of approval for the plat. If you want to go over those specifically, we can, but if not, they're available in your packet. There was also a park dedication request by our city's Parks and Rec department. This highlighted portion here was what was provided by our director. The applicant denied the request, which is their right under Airway Heights Municipal Code Chapter 16. We do not require for subdivisions any sort of deviation, or excuse me, dedication, sorry, back and forth here. If the dedication is not provided, they are subject to impact fees. So we can trade essentially a dedication for impact fees. It's really specific. It gets into it in Airway Heights Chapter 16.09. The applicant did make a statement that they may be still interested in doing a dedication. We have a condition of approval, basically saying that that needs to be done prior to final plat, because in order for the city to provide credit for that dedication for the park impact fees, we have to have it done on the final plat. So as of now, if they do not dedicate, they'll have full impact fees. If they do the dedication, we'll go through 16.09 and provide credit through that. The preliminary plat approval. So city staff's required to review preliminary plats under 1603-050 under these criteria. The first criteria is whether appropriate provisions are made for. Sorry, there's a bunch of stuff I want to go over here. I just want to make sure I got the right page. One more, there we go. Whether appropriate provisions are made for, among other things, the public health, safety, and general welfare, community facilities, open spaces, drainageways, access streets, alleys, other public ways, transit stops, water supplies, sanitary waste disposable utilities, parks and recreation, playgrounds, schools, school grounds, and shall consider all the relevant facts, including sidewalks and other planning features to assure safe walking conditions for students who only walk to and from school, and whether the public interest will be served by the subdivision. So we have a full breakdown of every single one of these again in the staff report. But generally speaking, for traffic, frontage improvements and traffic impact fees will be required for the plat. Fire department did not provide any additional comments on that, so they're okay with what was on paper. Public Works, again, that road deviation was reviewed and approved. For water, the plat is required to go through the concurrency requirements in Airway Heights Municipal Code 14.11. So water availability isn't established at the platting stage, it's established at the building permit stage, so we go through those individually. Sewer, the proposal was reviewed by the engineering team for consistency with the standards. There was a question of whether the current lift station for Hunter's Crossing would be able to handle the additional houses going in, and our engineering team determined that that was the case. So no additional requirements beyond what is required within our public works standards. We already talked about the parks a little bit, so we're going to leave that there. No additional transit stops were requested. Schools, this is located just to the south of First Avenue, and we talked about this a little bit. There is a new elementary school going in right up north there, so it would be very walkable. And then sidewalks, the proposed roadway section has a 5.5-foot sidewalk, which is consistent with the public works standards at time of application. That's since changed because we've adopted new standards since then, but they are grandfathered on that one. The second item here is the appropriateness of the plat considering the physical characteristics of the site. The site is flat and rocky and no major issues in terms of the physical conditions of the site. Whether the proposed subdivision is consistent with applicable zoning ordinances and other land use controls that may exist. Like I said earlier, it's zoned R1, R2, both allow for single family housing. There are no overlays, so Fairchild doesn't impact this at all. Spokane International Airport is an airport. There's no sound contours or anything, so that isn't an issue. Recommended conditions of approval. So there are 25 proposed conditions of approval in the staff report. Many of them are standard, including what I spoke on water and utility service, consistency with the zoning requirements and the public works standards, impact fees, concurrency, pretty much everything standard. There's only really one non-standard conditions, which is that roadway deviation. And the conditions are essentially what was provided by our public works staff. So required findings, these are the items that the planning commission is required to review the plat on. So this is 140503. So the planning commission is required to find that the development is consistent with the comprehensive plan and meets the requirements and intents of the development code. Staff believes that it is, but it is the planning commission's responsibility to find that as well. Development makes adequate provisions for open space, drainage, waste, streets, and other public ways, transit stops, water supply, sanitary waste, parks and recreation facilities, playgrounds, sites for schools and school grounds, and other public utilities. Staff believes that with conditions, we can meet those standards. The development adequately mitigates adverse environmental impacts identified during environmental review. So that's SEPA. The subdivision was issued a determination on significance. There was a question regarding whether or not there was an existing cultural survey about whether it covered it. They did amend that prior to SEPA review. So the Spokane Tribe of Indians accepted that. So we have no additional issues with environmental impacts. The development is not harmful to the public health, safety, and welfare and is in the public interest. Staff believes that it is. The development does not lower the level of service transportation networks for park facilities below the minimum standards established within the comprehensive plan. Again, through mitigation, we believe we can get there. The area, location, and features of land proposed for dedication are a direct result of the development proposal and reasonably needed to mitigate the effects of the development. And staff believes that through the roadway dedications, that is possible. So that is staff's presentation. We are recommending that through, sorry, just one second, that through PC resolution 2023-016, that the planning commission recommend approval of the proposed Sunrise and Hunters Crossing preliminary plat subject to the attached findings, conclusions, and conditions to the city council. And then I can take any questions, and then I can pop up the applicant's information as well.
I don't have any questions right now. I want to hear the other applicant stuff and then ask a question about the park stuff once it's all set.
Sure. Justin or Brenda, do you have any questions before we move on?
I don't have anything.
Brenda, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
No questions.
All right, let me bring this up and then I will let the applicant take over here. No. Why? There we go. Now I gotta back out because I didn't share. We really need a tech. Some days. Really? All right, sorry, Lee, go ahead.
You wanna?
Yeah.
And actually, can whoever's talking, you guys actually come up here. We have a microphone right here. I'm sorry. I didn't even think about that.
May I? And I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice. This usually happens this time of night. First of all, I want to thank you all for your time and your consideration on Plat submittal. And I'm one of 3 partners of Airway Heights LLC. Eric Tucker, who is joining us via Zoom, and Kevin Gunder. And Liam Taylor is here on our behalf from Storehog Engineering, as is Jerry Storehog via Zoom. We started this project in 1998 with 230 acres, and we're kind of down to the final push here, and we're hoping we've designed something with Storehog that fits the continuity of the other plats we've had approved, and some of them built out, some of them in build out now. And the location of the school, I think, is a huge piece that we connected here a few years back, and hopefully Chaz comes into play sooner than later. That'll be a nice fit, I think. Yeah, there's a couple things that came up, but I think I'll address them. You said you had a question about the parks, and I think what I'll do, like you said, I'll let Liam kind of do the overview on this and then address any questions about that. And hopefully I don't totally lose my voice. Thanks, Liam.
So yeah, thanks, Rick. So yeah, thanks, Zach, for the thorough introduction of the project. Thanks for the planning commission members and Heather, and thanks for introducing me, Rick. Yeah, my name's Liam Taylor. I'm a land use planner and development consultant at Storehog Engineering. Also joined by Jerry Storehog, our principal engineer, and we're representing the ownership Airway Heights LLC. This is just the first page of the plat, so why don't we just jump straight to the second one. I promise I won't just be repeating Zach too much. Okay, so this is just a quick vicinity map. You can see Route 2 on the south. Is there any way I can use a mouse to point? Thank you.
It's a little, you'll see.
Okay, so yeah, here's Route 2, here's Craig Road. It's a non-contiguous plat. Here's the western side next to the Arrowleaf Townhomes, and here's the eastern portion next to Hunter's Crossing North second edition, and Highland Village. And do I just click to? Oh, I do. Okay.
Yes, you do.
Here's a bird's eye view of the project looking to the southeast. Again, there's second Route 2, Craig Road. Here's the western portion, eastern portion, Hunter's Crossing North first and second edition. Here's some lovely photos I took just the other day of another neighborhood nearby with a narrower than typical street section. It's not going to quite match whatever we end up designing, but you know, this is going to look like a typical subdivision in Airway Heights. Kind of jumping to some of the, we did a lot of studies for this to get to this point. One of them was the cultural study that Zach mentioned. It was initially done for a larger project area under a separate application called Sunset, Hunter's Crossing. It's a little confusing. You can see one of the test hole pits. As you can see, it was done quite some time ago, so there's some history to this project. And it was done by RLR, Archaeological and Cultural Resources, and they found no eligible cultural resources located within the area and recommended that construction proceed as planned. Spokane Tribe also concurred with the results of the study. Right here is the little bit more of some of the history we did. We did some sewer and water analysis. This particular slide is showing the ERU analysis, which is the equivalent residential unit analysis. Basically, there's this lift station kind of south of the site, and it has a capacity of, we calculated 670 units that it could service. And we did a simple calculation of the existing invested developments in the area, and then tacked on our potential units and determined that it could be, all of that could be serviced by the existing lift station. And it's hard to read because there's a black bar, but per the staff report, the city engineering department came to the same conclusion that sewer is, there is capacity for sewer for this development. And as Zach said, water isn't determined at, the water capacity isn't determined at this platting process. Let me know if you have any questions or if I'm going too fast. I just want to be respectful of your time. Jumping to traffic and road. Here's that road section we proposed. Just want to say, thank you for the road variance. We appreciate it. Looking forward to working with the conditions of approval and ironing out the official road section in our engineering process. This little bit right here is are those conditions of approval I just mentioned. And then, another part of this is the traffic. We had Ann Winkler, a professional engineer with Sunburst Engineering. She did a traffic impact analysis for us for that Sunset Hunters Crossing. That was a larger development, which actually had duplexes proposed. And her conclusion to that was that we should just follow procedure, and the developer should just go with the the traffic mitigation fees for the previous development. After this new application, she came to the same conclusion that the traffic impact mitigation fees would be appropriate for the future development. And I know that was kind of quick and kind of a lot, but just wanted to say, we've read the condition of approval, so is the ownership and our legal counsel, and that we concur with them, and we appreciate your time and knowledge and working with us, and looking forward to answering any questions you guys might have.
I'm just curious, why you all decided to not have more park space, but leave it open to add more instead of just having a definitive answer.
We, our legal counsel, we wanted to leave that open to the future developer. So Airway Heights LLC, they're just setting this project up to a preliminary plat approval, similar to the the Hunters Crossing North first and second edition. And then after the preliminary plat approval, they're going to sell it to a developer. And we just want to leave that option open to the future developer, and just keep with the same procedure as written in the 16.09 code.
There's a little history there too, back in the beginning, way back, like in 2001 or 2, through the landowner, Jay Landreth, we had parsed through a donation of the 11-acre park or whatever that first one was. And it kind of came back to bite us with a couple of developers we were in negotiation with, as far as totally rousted their the best layout they wanted. So like Liam said, we basically take this through preliminary plat, and then we actually have 2 or 3 different entities, builder developers that we've been in conversation with for quite some time, and got a little pushback from one of them on it, but again, it's something we would rather look at once we figure out which developer we end up choosing and get into communication and an agreement with as to how that would best suit their layout and their needs.
That makes sense.
Plus another thought, and I don't know if this makes sense. I was thinking you've got a school here that's, during school hours and maybe sports and things of that nature. There's going to be parts and pieces of that whole green space around the school that I think the neighborhood will hopefully be able to use for park like throwing your frisbee for your dog or whatever you want to go out and do. But hopefully that will buffer that need a little bit. I don't know if that's naive of me thinking that way, but I know I grew up playing. Our main playground was Hamblin School Park, so.
The way I look at this city, our main issue is housing, right? So the water obviously is another main issue of the city, but the housing is one of the biggest issues we have. So any ability to add more in to me is better, right? But we do need to have those park spaces and look forward to that future, especially doing with our comp plan and providing these public spaces for people. But housing is the need. So I understand what you're saying, and there is at least public spaces in this area that the community can use, regardless of what decision gets made by the developer later on down the line. But I appreciate your answer.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the question.
Bill, Justin, Brenda, anybody have any questions?
No question.
Oh, that about covered it.
No questions from me.
Zach, do you mind pulling up the PC resolution for this?
Yeah. And just as a reminder, if there is a member of the public who would like to testify regarding this application, to provide an opportunity.
I apologize if anybody would like to speak from the public about this. Just leave it open for a minute or two. Doing that, we're gonna.
Just put your arrow on the sidebar on the far right.
I can drag it, yeah, but it actually will, when you have like a 500-page document, it can go, go pretty quick, so. We'll go a little slower here. Okay, so your resolutions can be at the end here. Go ahead and share that so everyone can see.
If there's no comment from the public regarding this resolution or this project, can I get one of the fellow commissioners to make a motion to pass resolution?
They're still in public hearing right now.
I guess I should back up. Any of the commissioners want to have a discussion amongst ourselves? I feel like this issue is pretty well talked about in the past, but I know we do have commissioners on here, or new commissioners. Justin or Brenda.
No, I'm,
No, I agree. I think we covered it pretty well last time we
Yeah.
were talking to you.
Okay. With that said, then if I can get one of you three to make a motion to pass resolution PC 2023-016 off to city council, approved as written.
I'll make a motion to pass the resolution in PC 2023-016 to forward that to city council.
Can you get somebody to second that?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Noted that the ayes have it. We'll pass resolution PC 2023-016 off to city council. Thank you. Thank you, staff, for this.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do we want to pause the recording? and
Pause
flag this up?
recording. We'll return at 6 o'clock when the hearing for the conference plan
Okay,
begins.
perfect.
All right, welcome back. We're going to move on to our second portion of tonight, which is our public hearing on the comprehensive plan, 2023 comprehensive plan.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much for bringing that up. We do have a PowerPoint presentation. I want to give all the credit to Framework who prepared this presentation for last week's open house. And it was really great, concise and image oriented. So I thought I'd reuse it since we may have members of the public here. And so Zach's putting that up. We'll just do a little bit of an orientation for the group. So just as a reminder, this is a public hearing for recommendation of the Planning Commission on the comprehensive plan for Airway Heights. This is what we call an interim plan. It's not the required state plan that has to be done every 8 years. This plan was initiated by the city council after the last required plan due to the amount of population increase and growth that we've been having and the desire to examine how population growth and the development of commercial and industrial properties were impacting our ability to serve, not just in the amount of land that we have, but also in services like water, sewer, police, and fire. So as part of the onset of this process, we really looked at the opportunity to rethink portions of the plan. So you go to the next slide. And that included going through and updating the vision for the city of Airway Heights. We did a series of engagements, including through Facebook Live and Zoom on each of the chapters, as well as the visioning, and heard from our community that they really felt like Airway Heights was a great place to live, has a small town feel. I've heard that multiple times from our community members, that they wanted to be inclusive, have strong community connections. They wanted to be walkable, have a strong connection between housing, employment, as well as parks and open space, and that they wanted for the community to be accessible, short distances, and not so auto-oriented as a community. People establish their roots here, they stay here, people are attracted to this community because of the housing, the schools, and our parks. People want this to be a multi-generational community as well, and again, be able to have definable areas, including a downtown. Next. In addition to that, we heard from our community on a number of areas, but just so I can recap this, not only did we have these visioning events, but we engaged in public participation in a number of different ways. So under growth management, you're supposed to have what's called continuous public engagement. So you don't just bring a plan at the end to officials to decide upon, that you get feedback all throughout the process as it's being developed. So I mentioned the visioning process that was created around the Facebook Live and Zoom events. We also sent out an all-city postcard to residents and property owners explaining all the events coming up in 2021, so they'd have a choice of how and when that they would participate in those. Those included informational booths at Airway Heights Days, as well as online surveys that we had for the visioning event and then the visioning event themselves. We also did a survey when we were working on developing land use alternatives. So in this iterative process of understanding how much land had been consumed in just a few short years, particularly in the residential realm, we worked with the Planning Commission and the City Council to develop some alternatives about how we might build some additional residential capacity in our city. And we put those out for public review. We also notified all of the property owners that had land that would be impacted by these land use changes so that they could be engaged with the Planning Commission and give feedback on those alternatives. A preferred alternative was selected out of that process and is now the basis of the comprehensive plan we have. We also put out surveys on transportation issues and preferences with a strong emphasis on issues that the community was having on accessibility, their favorite places, walking and biking. And of course, we developed a online engagement tool through our project website throughout this process. So the surveys, the drafts, public releases of information were all posted on that project website throughout the development of the comprehensive plan. And of course, the workshops themselves with the Planning Commission on the various elements. So we've worked on developing an element and then reviewing the element and then moving on to the next element as part of this process. Next slide. So here's just some images from some of these activities. Of course, the Facebook Live, I think we called those the Hollywood Squares of Airway Heights. Remember the tiles, you know, with all of us on there, we had guest speakers and presenters as part of that process. We also had the Airway Heights days, and then some of the results of the surveys are shown on this. That was just a fun visual. We had 10 big ideas that were coming out of this process, which are really broken down from the vision: place where people can afford to live, walkable, bikeable, full service neighborhoods, have a downtown, provide a variety of housing types, expanding our parks and recreation, monitoring growth so we understand how it's interacting with the plan. Expanding on education was a big focus toward the end of the land use alternative. Transforming Highway 2 to reflect the priorities of Airway Heights, which is connected. It's not a barrier. It's part of our downtown, and building on infrastructure. Next slide. Next one. There we go. The plan was also designed to be focused toward the community as the consumer rather than being a document that's predominantly geared towards staff. And this reflects much of the work that we've been doing in the planning department for the past 2 years. So the website development, the update we did was focused on customer using the site versus city staff using the site. And the same idea was expressed in the plan. It's visually oriented, it's graphically oriented. So someone isn't reading 1,000 pages of text. It is intended to give quick reference of, for example, the tie between the big ideas in each chapter of the plan, and to provide a synopsis of the vision. Next slide. It also explains the relationship between a vision, the chapters, which are called elements of the plan, what a goal is, a policy, and then action. And that's really the newest part of this comprehensive plan, is actions and strategy. So actual specific steps we can take to ensure that the policy and the goal reaches its fruition or realization. Next. This is also another visual tool within the plan that connects the goals to the various chapters. So as you go through a chapter, there's a color and it highlights just the color. So how does parks connect to these goals? Well, by following the colors, and everything fades into the background, it becomes visually oriented to understand which goals are related to each chapter. Next. Next. Here's the big pieces that we've talked in some detail about, which is that we expanded this plan a few more years because we are doing this right after our normal periodic update, which had a horizon year of 2037, because the plan we were required to adopt had to occur in 2017. Every comprehensive plan is required to have at least a 20-year vision. We looked at the amount of growth that was occurring, and with our consultant, evaluated how quickly we were growing compared to the state's projections for the county and the allocation of population that we received. And the consensus was that we were going faster than what the allocation had been given to us. And so therefore, as we looked out a little bit further, we would look at a faster rate of growth than what we've originally been assigned through this county process. So just backing up one step, as part of every update required by the state, the county gets an allocation of total population growth, and then the communities within that county allocate a population number to every city and to the county, and they're supposed to plan to that number. We were already growing faster than that number, and so we looked at a higher number for our potential growth. We also looked at the impacts it would be having on housing over the long term. So we also had found through our inventory of land uses that we'd consumed a significant amount of residential land. And I think the plat that you saw at the last hearing is a classic example. It's about 33 acres and it's the last large piece of property in the city that is being developed. We have some 2-acre and some 5-acre and a little 6-acre piece. Everything else has already been approved or is under construction for residential development, literally. Can you go to the next one? So what we ultimately focused on for this comprehensive plan was increasing the amount of residential land that we might be able to identify, and by adopting a comprehensive plan and as a next step, updating our zoning, we would be able to realize some additional available residential land for development in the short term. And in summary, that includes about 50 acres up in the right-hand corner, which is H on the far right-hand side. There we go, which is currently industrial, to redesignate that as medium density residential. It included carrying forward a recommendation from the downtown plan, which is PC, right next to Highway 2 and Sunset and Elementary. The downtown plan recommended going to high density residential in that area because it was close to our proposed downtown, and there's a natural energy between high density residential people and buying goods at that area. It also moved forward from our last plan in 2020, the pieces identified as B1, B2 and B3 and B4, which were a combination of either commercial or low density residential as medium density residential. And the hearing that you just heard was that B1 and B2 are proposed to actually be low density residential at this point. And it also moved forward a recommendation for a piece of property that had an application for rezone, which is E, brought before the city back in 2018. The application was never approved, but it's still out there potentially, which is about 28 acres that could be high density residential. That reflects the designation being sought by the property owner, which is the Kalispel tribe. So it's in fee, not trust land. And then the final element was to look at urban growth area. Now, urban growth area is the designation you give to property that potentially could be annexed in the future. It's like a mark in the sand, if you will, identifying that potentially could be annexed, and it's needed in order to accommodate a population allocation and growth within the community. And so the preferred alternative chose to move some acreage, which is under F, the big green section there, which is like off-road vehicle park owned by Spokane County, which will never develop. And the preferred alternative was to add F2, which is about 138 acres as future residential area to the city. So that's probably the biggest piece in the plan walking away, is the identification and designation of additional land for residential development, potentially to accommodate growth in the future. Any questions about map? Okay, next one. So this slide is just out of the comprehensive plan, which was basically the exercise of showing how many units potentially we could get out of each of these areas we redesignated. So one of the tactics around the plan to make it more user-friendly is volume 1 is maps, goals, and policies, whereas volume 2 is where the analysis is contained. So a little bit similar to your high school math, where you have to show your homework. We still had to show how we arrived at the conclusion of the relationship between population, available land, and total number of housing units needed, and whether the decisions we made would arrive at the right number of potential housing units. So remember, we're a local agency. We can't actually build this housing. What we do is we create the setting at the table by having land uses designated with densities and eventually updated development regulations that enable this housing to occur. And you'll be hearing this over and over for the next 3 years, that we have to set the table to enable it. We are not able to actually create housing. Can you go to the next slide? So we went on over the future land use map, in a lot of detail. Let's just move on to the next one. This is the housing element. So the idea, the policies that we looked at were supporting what's called missing middle houses. A lot of our community is predominantly detached, single family or large apartment complexes. At a state level, there's a recognition that there's all these other housing forms that can help support housing with rental and homeownership opportunities. These are just some visual representations of that, but it would include accessory dwelling units, otherwise known as granny flats, duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, courtyard apartments, which are low-rise apartments around a courtyard, cluster single-family housing, otherwise known as cottage housing, townhomes, which are individual homes where they share a property line and a wall, but it's actually a home on its own lot, are examples of the types of housing that our plan identifies as embraces and will actually be required of us to allow to be developed as part of the next comprehensive plan, which will be due in 2026. Next slide. There's a lot in the transportation chapter, which has to do with the idea of identification of not just vehicular roadway improvements, but looking at what's called multimodal. So multimodal is bicycle and pedestrian facilities and transit. So there's a large emphasis on encouraging ways to get around a community without having to use a vehicle. And so we've expanded on our plans, identifying development of additional routes or expansion of bicycle facilities, bike lanes through direct bike lanes, shared use path, which is separated from the roadway where it's wide enough for both bicycles and pedestrians to use it, infill of sidewalks, and of course, assisting with the expansion of transit in our community. Next slide. Our capital facilities plan is required by state law, which is looking at long-term where investments are going to be going. This is just a summary of the millions and millions of dollars that we are looking to need to invest in our infrastructure over the next 20 years, everything from roadway to water to sewer, parks, and then of course the joint civic complex, which we talked about at the opening of today's meeting, which has been recently acquired, and what it will take to relocate all of these services to that new location. Next. Then we have another piece of the plan, which is in addition to volume 1, which is a more reader version, easily accessed by the public. There's the volume 2 with all the technology. But the third element that we've been working on for the project is a web-based. So in other words, instead of opening up a large document on a computer where you have to scroll through hundreds or even 1,000 pages, that the comp plan will be made as a website where it's interactive. So if you want to know about a goal, you can click to that. Or if you want to look at a specific chapter, you can click to that chapter. If you want to just look at maps, you can click and look at the maps. And so it'll make it easier for people to engage with the plan and be able to see it readily. It'll be linked to the city's website. And that way we hope it'll be a tool that people will be able to relate to more. One of the fun exercises we did at the open house last week was we had a resident of the senior housing complex on 6th Avenue wanted to know if there was more multifamily residential being developed close to where he lived. So we pulled up the land use map and showed him the relationship or the meaning of what a land use designation means, the type of housing that can occur. And so he was looking particularly at the intersection of 6th and Craig Road. And so we were able to show him the map, see how this is designated as commercial. That means there won't be apartment complex at the end of your street. So it was a great way for people to kind of experience what the meaning of a really simple question about what's going to be around me, what will be developed in the future, and how to use the tool to take a look at it.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Can you go on? So this is just an overview of kind of the beta version of what it will look like as a website. It will be complete after the comprehensive plan is done. And it'll be up and it'll be able to be modified as we move forward with additional planning for the next periodic update. And I think that's probably all of it. This was just the flyer from the open house that we did as part of the all city mailer last week. So people will be able to look at that. So that's a synopsis of the three components of the comprehensive plan and the work that we did since 2021 on that. Are there any questions from the planning commission before opening it up to public testimony?
I don't have any questions. Brenda, Justin, Bill?
No, it was all very thorough.
Nope.
I read the packet as well.
Yep,
Thank you.
straightforward and same thing.
Great, thank you. And with that, we're able to,
I just have one quick question about the website development. Are you folks doing that in-house or is that
No,
getting some help with that?
yeah, the framework will be doing that. So they designed the plan. They've been facilitating that. That's on them.
we're one of the few there. I think there are only maybe one or two other communities in the state at this point that will have a web-based plan. So that's exciting for us to be on the cutting edge of technology and making this kind of work more readily accessible to the public. Washington State Department of Transportation representatives were at the open house last week and they saw this and they were really excited. And so they've committed that they're not going to recommend that to other communities, that they also do a web-based plan as they look at other communities having to do their comprehensive plans to make it easier to read.
Definitely makes it more accessible to people,
Mhm.
and that's a nice thing, right?
Mhm.
Letting the residents know what's available to them and see that versus trying to find it. Do you have any more questions on that?
I don't. As I said in the past, I'm a big fan of this plan. I love the way it was developed. I think the work that your office did is just outstanding. And I like the 2-volume format and the web-based, I think just takes that to the next level. And it's a 21st century product.
Well, I'm excited to hear that because Zach and I have been struggling since coming here to help, make things more easily accessible, bring things kind of up to the modern age. And
But between everything, between both of y'all, you are doing an amazing job,
Oh, thank
and this will just add even more in, and I hope the residents see how much you're actually doing for them. The fact that we can pull up land use maps, see all these different projects going on, then adding in this comprehensive plan, it's just more information that people deserve to have. So it's a great thing. You guys do amazing work.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to our public part of this. I'm going to read some rules surrounding our public comments. Public comments are going to be limited to 5 minutes. All comments by proponents, opponents, and other members of the public shall be made from the podium. In this case, we just asked that you come and sit up here so that we can hear you on the speaker and it gets recorded. If you're joining us via Zoom, just join on Zoom and it'll be your podium there. Any individuals making comments shall first give their name and address. This is required because of an official recording of the public hearing is being made. No comments shall be made from any other location. Anyone making out of order comments shall be subject to removal from the meeting. If a person is physically challenged and requires accommodation, the chair shall be advised. There shall be no demonstrations, applause, or other audience participation during or at the conclusion of anyone's presentation. These rules are intended to promote an orderly system of holding a public hearing, giving every person an opportunity to be heard, and to ensure that no individual is annoyed or embarrassed by exercising his or her right of speech. With that said, we have a couple of members of the public here. Do any of you want to speak publicly?
Yeah, this is a meeting continuation from what I have, had planning commission, it's on Dino room.
No.
There's the open house.
Oh, the open house?
Open house last week.
Oh, great.
Well, please come up if you have a question. I'd be happy to try and answer it for you or.
Yeah, I don't have it for here,
Okay. Do we have anybody from the public on our Zoom that would like to speak to the 2023 comprehensive plan?
we'll leave this open till 6:25, just to make sure that we don't have anybody. We have to keep this open till 8 o'clock regardless, correct? No. Okay.
We didn't put an end date on it or an ending time on it, so it opens at 6 and it ends when it ends. So.
Well, did you all get to see the presentation on the comprehensive plan that was brought up? I'm assuming you live in the city?
We saw it at the open house.
What did you all think? What did you think? Do you like the direction the city's going?
What do I think? Pretty good presentation. We've been here since 69. And I used to be on the city council in 70. And it was pretty nice.
Nice. So you've been here and seen a lot of changes.
Although we wouldn't get paid around on the city council.
I just can't even imagine how much it's changed in 50 years.
Well, so I operated a business here. I have conditioned refrigerated heating business for 40 rain years.
Oh, nice.
And it was refrigerated heating.
Nice. Oh,
Very bad, and I enjoy the life.
well, thank you for everything you've done for the city and thank you for your service. I appreciate that.
Thank you. This has come a long way, so the city's come a long way. That's very thank you. A lot of feeling.
Yeah, I've had the privilege of being here 10 years and it's amazing what it's done in just 10 years. I can't imagine 50 years. And it's just incredible how the city has grown in that time period. Well, if we don't have any other public comments, discussions, we close out this just in this part like a normal meeting, or do we?
You would close the public testimony portion of the hearing, and then you would entertain a motion for the resolution for the comprehensive plan.
Just,
I am going to close the public comment on this hearing at 6:27. And we'll go into our commissioners' discussion. Do you mind pulling up that PC resolution when you get a chance at?
yeah, I'm not sure if it's actually in the packet. But the number is 2023-026. And it's just another resolution forwarding.
That's right there.
Oh, did we get it in here? A lot of moving parts. It's right there.
Personally, I've watched us working on these comprehensive plans over the past couple of years. I love the direction the city's taking, right? Because it's forward looking and it's not perfect all the time. And we have discussion and debates about that, but the plan, it's like I say, forward looking, and it's really nice to see that coming about. I look forward to working on it again, starting, in our next sessions. But everything that we've done today on all of these things, I don't think it could have been any better with where we started from. So I'm very happy to see this go on and get recommended to City Council. In making this just part of our plan right now, and hopefully this will help us get more funding for our city and will allow us to grow even further. I'm open to any of our fellow commissioners talking about this, discussing anything, but I personally feel this is very well thought and worked, and we should be sending this off to get approved by City Council.
I agree. I said before, I'm a fan of the plan. I think it's a great touchstone, and I think I hope the citizens will avail themselves of it and maintain awareness and hold the rest of us accountable for following through on that vision.
Yeah, I agree with that. Brenda, Justin, you guys have anything to add?
No, I'm honestly not trying to dodge conversations tonight, but you guys just keep saying everything that needs to be said. So I just got to sit here and agree and make it easy for me.
Fair enough. Brenda?
Yeah, I don't have anything to add. It's been pretty, like I said, very detailed.
Awesome. Well, then can I get one of you three to make a resolution to pass PC 2023-026?
I'll go ahead and make a resolution to pass PC 2023-026, the resolution.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. We'll pass resolution PC 2023-026 off to city council. Well, I think that pretty much does it for tonight, doesn't it? Or did we have anything else on the agenda?
We do not, but thank you very much for your patience and your energy and your commitment to the community as we move through this plan update. So I'm really excited to see what this next plan will enable us to do.
Yeah, I feel like I see it every meeting, but when I first joined this commission, the work that we did was lackluster compared to where we are today. So I love seeing what we're doing in this city. I really do. And I think it's reflected in the growth of the city, right? Because you can drive through it today and it's so much different than it was just 5 years ago when you both started.
Mhm.
So these are the things that bring that about. And I know that we're doing good work for this city and its constituents. Well, with that said, let's go ahead and adjourn tonight's meeting at 6:31 p.m. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
guys.
Thank you. Good night.
Night, Brenda. Night, Justin.